Imagine listening in and anticipating a nice heart-to-heart between Yandy and Mendy, only to watch as sparks fly so fast that it feels like the room might explode up. What was intended to be a friendly sit-down to discuss things is being described by fans as one of the most shocking confrontations in the history of hip-hop and romance. Instead of being a tool for healing, every statement felt like a dagger. From a simple water bottle to an abrasive tone, each and every tight look turned into something far bigger. The audience was shocked by what they witnessed, which started with little rifts in their marriage and quickly turned into disappointments that exposed years of verbal arguments and buried grudges. Mendeecees grew more defensive, saying he had been fighting for them all along, while Yandy, who was obviously exhausted, insisted on effort and explanations. In a matter of the mood went from uneasy to explosive in a matter of seconds, leaving everyone wondering if their marriage had reached a breaking point, or if this was just another disagreement. Insiders claim that the severity of the consequences surprised even the crew behind the cameras into silence. The question now is, did we just see the Yandy and Mendeecees romance fall apart in real time? With a disagreeable silence, Yandy and Mendy took seats across from each other, and that was already heavier than the humid air in the room. The objective was simple. They wanted to finally agree before heading to Puerto Rico with the rest of the group. But from the initial exchange, it was clear that achieving peace would not be simple. You could hear the tension in their voices. Each sentence's sound was a challenge rather than a bridge. What supporters hoped would be a heartfelt conversation about love and family descended into one of the bloodiest fights in contemporary history. With a low, piercing voice that seemed to be challenging him to deny it, Yandy started, "You got real funky with me?" Mendy observes the response almost instantly. "I didn't become strange. You became weird." The comments were more harsh than they should have been. And instead of offering an apology or saying, "I'm sorry," you simply continued that nasty vibe. The onlookers knew this was more than a simple misunderstanding or a drink of water. The stakes were all underneath. Yandy leaned forward and spoke in a frustrated tone. "It is an energy of affection. It isn't flexible. You don't have to give it to me. Every time something comes up, it feels like you're ready to fight me instead of fighting for me." One phrase, which addressed the very wound that so many followers had seen, startled the audience. For months, Yandy had been publicly defending their marriage and putting up a brave face. The Pfizers were developing in the background. Means who often boasted that he took delight in his toughness and lack of concern. But he didn't realize how severely her soul was being pierced by that same hardness. Yandy tried to lighten his tone by stating, "Maybe you took it the wrong way. I apologize. Let's not make little things." However, it was too little too late into big things. She shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's more than little details. Little things accumulate until they become too much for me to handle. I'm over being held accountable for this marriage." The room was pierced by that words like a knife. Fans at home couldn't believe it. Social media was flooded with comments right away. "This is more profound than we thought. Whoa, Yandy looks really worn out. And the end is only beginning." The irony was painful. In reality, what had begun as a calm get-together was highlighting the problems in their relationship. Tensed is what many observes. "I've been fighting too. You can't see it, but I fight every single day. Since we first met, I have been fighting for us." He pounded her hand against the table gently. It was not anger, but desperation. "Even if you claim that, I don't think I saw it. You simply show up when it suits you. However, I feel as though I've been the only one out here, defending, battling, and giving up." His voice grew harsh. "You are inventing problems. You're turning insignificant issues into disputes. I can't go on this way. I don't have time to deal with the bull." That completely altered the tone. It was wonderfully described by online fans. When he said it, her face broke. Her lips quivered as she sank back in her chair, trying to control her anger and despair. She whispered, "I can't be the only person fighting. I'm worn out from too much struggle." This was no longer just a disagreement. Anger from years ago was seeping forth. All of the times Yandy had defended him in front of friends, helped the family when he was away, and felt alone in the partnership suddenly came tumbling down, and she faced challenges instead of confidence. Then came the startling news. Instead of receiving information about him directly from him, Yandy said that she had been obtaining it from other people. "If I enter a room and hear others discussing my husband, what does that say about us? What does that say about how trusting we are?" Mendeecees' entire mindset is said to have transformed. He stiffened. His voice became piercing. His defensiveness increased. "I constantly make it seem like I'm hiding something. Normally, you're really protective. It's exaggerated so quickly. Fans knew what they were witnessing, though. Conventional deflection. He refused to assist her, turning the tables on her. The irony was cruel. While she was begging for love and honesty, he was blaming her of being the problem. The internet was ablaze with commentary. Yandy's followers sided with her, calling her the family's rock and deserving of better. Others sided with Mendy, claiming he was tired of being blamed for everything. One thing was clear in spite of the contentious debate that took place over several timelines. The sit-down was one of the most heated scenes of the season. Yandy's fatigue was evident on her face. She looked at him with disappointment in her eyes. In front of everyone, I have defended us. I carried us when no one else appeared to want to. But now I need you to protect us. I'm not capable on their own. You're not even aware of my actions. I've been fighting this battle from the beginning. Mendy leaned back and shook his head, but the words were no longer meaningful. It seemed like two voices echoing, but they never reached the other side of a canyon, according to supporters. The ensuing silence was unsettling. She looked at him, looking for something. Any sign that he might soften, come forward, and put up with her pain. But his head was turned away. It was seen by those present as a tipping moment. It wasn't the water bottle or the defensive comments that seemed to conceal the love that had once held them together, but rather layers of pride and exhaustion. Yandy blurted out the most hurtful sentence at that moment. I feel like I've been fighting alone for far too long, and perhaps this marriage has already ended. If I'm the only one still having arguments, she added in a barely audible voice. Mendeecees remained motionless, his face unreadable as the camera lingered on him. The stillness was greater than any dispute they had ever had. The audience couldn't look away. It wasn't just a scenario. In real time, pure anguish was seeping forth. It's too real. Fans said things like, I can't watch. Who can make it if they can't? Hashtags were trending within minutes. The video also became viral across all channels. Their marriage may already be in jeopardy, as what began as a reconciliation turned out to be. The silence that followed Yandy's final words lingered in the air like a motionless storm cloud. Maybe she had spent too much time arguing alone. Additionally, it's possible that their marriage was having problems, which neither partner ever wanted to discuss in public. He was already in a vulnerable position, and numerous others sat there squeezing his lips. Last night was a blast, maybe innocuous. But when those communications are allegedly from Kirk to Kendra, it's more Netflix and treachery than networking. Additionally, the date just happened to coincide with one of Kirk's mysterious, unnoticed work trips. There is never a genuine invoice, and you understand how Finns feel when this kind of drink begins to leak. On Twitter, fingers went crazy. If Jock and Kirk are fighting for Kendra, I need tickets in the front row. A meme of Jock yelling with the caption, when you realize your bro might be your stepson's new stepdaddy, savage, you may not be able to stay faithful if before the moment ever aired, started to spread. Kept him without Wi-Fi in a monastery. The same suspicious individuals who apparently always have the most delicious information started to claim that Jock had already confronted Kendra. Behind the scenes, claiming that she rejected everything and vehemently claimed that nothing ever happened. This was accurate, but it went farther than that. That Jock couldn't get rid of the doubt because in LL's world, even the strongest denial feels like an admission. The issue was that her denial contained just enough cameras zooming in on Kirk's twitching smile, Jock's flaring nostrils, Rashad's side eye so sharp it could cut through any hesitation, and just enough of that "how dare you ask me" attitude. Cut glass. But instead of facing the accusation head-on, Kirk tried to spin it by mumbling about trust and brotherhood and why would I ever do that, which, depending on your moral compass, made it even better or worse. This is basically code for I don't have an explanation, so let me divert your attention with ambiguous phrases and hope you forget. Every second was pure reality TV gold. However, let's be honest, no one forgot. In fact, fans started to dig when they found old footage of Kirk and Kendra being a little too friendly at past events, as evidenced by their hug that lasted a beat too long and their laugh that seemed more like flirtation than friendship. Suddenly, every video became evidence, every smile became suspicious, and the timeline was it becomes deliciously messy from here. Reportedly, an unnamed friend of the show leaked that the producers actually own material that was never shown. People started to wonder if this was a one-time rumor, or if it had been simmering for months, clandestinely amid the chaos of other people's scandals. Kirk and Kendra standing a bit too tall at an after-party and talking in each other's ears. Near. Was it a non-threatening incident? Maybe. Did it make Jock crazy? Definitely. If the leak is true, the producers waited until the perfect moment to release it. Like, oh, I'm not sure. A huge explosion in Puerto Rico? Is it a coincidence? Please. Nothing happens by mistake on this show. Meanwhile, social media was a battleground, pitting Team Kirk against Team Jock. Some fans said that Jock was exaggerating and letting his concerns ruin friendships. Conspiracy. Theorists then suggested that perhaps the producers staged the entire incident to increase viewership. But here's the worst part. Jock's genuine anger, even if it was manufactured, wasn't acting. Kirk should have known better than to even glance in Kendra's direction because he had earned his terrible reputation. The thing about messy men is that they don't just ruin their own lives. They drag everyone else along with them. Rashida, who has put up with years of Kirk's foolishness, is unfortunate to be thrown into yet another scandal that she didn't cause. Rashida isn't being ignored in all of this. Not again, I thought. Not with cameras rolling down with them, not in Puerto Rico. Jock refused to watch and urged, "Kirk, tell me the truth. Did you or did you not stay with my wife overnight?" Awkward laughter, shuffling, silence, and the deflection of the famous Kirk move ensued. Man, are you really going to allow these rumors to continue? To keep us apart? Will you really believe the streets over me? That is, in my opinion, the weakest defense. If the streets are more reliable than you, maybe you should reconsider your life choices. Additionally, while Kirk was at work, the internet was already in court, with people claiming to have seen Kirk and Kendra together on Instagram Lives, and TikTok examining the most damning response came from Jock himself, who didn't just stop at the accusation but doubled down and started listing all the shady things Kirk had ever done, including every time he'd been caught in a lie and every time he'd embarrassed Rashida. The investigation was carried out by fans who treat love and hip-hop like Kirk's background was basically one long highlight reel of betrayal. "If you can do it to her, why wouldn't you do it to me?" he said, and even though everyone wanted to laugh it off, he had a point. The room went silent as he yelled, "Is this really so crazy?" Then it on them that Puerto Rico would not only be chaotic, but also catastrophic. So here we are in paradise, surrounded by palm trees and turquoise lakes, witnessing two mature men break years of friendship over whispers, screenshots, and late nights. Personal, this was war. The other people on that trip were just collateral damage. Because once you accuse a man of having an affair with your wife, there's no turning back to have a drink by the pool. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. After all, accusations are one thing, but when the dust settles, someone will have to pay the price. Horrible. Wait until you hear about the consequences, rumors, and honestly, it's the kind of mayhem we love. Hip-hop and love aren't about the music or the beaches, but rather about mistrust, betrayal, and the kind of ugly drama that keeps you glued to the screen. The villa fell silent as he dropped his final bomb, but the silence was brief because what happened was not just a disagreement, but the destruction of years of supposed brotherhood in front of cameras, friends, strangers, and millions of people at home. And trust me, the bill in Puerto Rico is going to be more than anyone bargains for. It was reality with a capital, or Kirk attempting to preserve what little dignity he still had. But the irony of that statement was more devastating than Jock's accusations because, let's face it, Kirk has shown over the years that he will sacrifice everything for one night. You think I'd sacrifice my wife, my family, and my business for one night? Reality TV no more? You think I'm stupid? You think I don't see the pattern? My wife came to Puerto Rico to relax and settle down, but the Jock wasn't having it. He got up, chest puffed out, and paced like a man preparing a fight or something. The man could trademark infidelity. A one-night stand, please. An appointment with a divorce attorney. Enjoy. Now that I'm hearing from everyone but you, what happened? You were supposed to be my brother. Every word felt like a nail in the coffin of their friendship. Rashida was furious, finishing the session with her arms folded, her eyes rolling, and her lips pressed together. Saki could have expended a lot of energy to power the villa's electricity, because it was no longer just about Kendra, but about Kirk pulling everyone into his mess once more, and this time she gave him a look that said, "I already know how this story ends and we've been here before," rather than anger. However, fans weren't merely observing. While the internet went crazy, people were taking sides, writing dissertations in comment sections, and creating hashtags like Dr. J versus Kirk and Kendragate ... Theories were rife on Reddit. Did Kirk and Kendra really hook up? Was Jock exaggerating, or was this whole fuss a calculated ploy by producers who know that drama sells? But here's the twist. Whether it was true or not, people were emotionally invested, and perception is important in the world of hip-hop and love. Off camera, however, things were much darker. And the fallout went beyond memes and fan fights as rumors started to circulate that producers were considering turning this drama into a separate plotline. Jacques' trust issues. Kendra's denials, Kirk's reputation, and Rashida's silent suffering were the main topics of the new season. But Jacques' anxiety was only increased by her quietness. Hesitancy and little cracks in her voice. And once suspicion sets in, it doesn't go away. Later that night, Jacques and Kendra reportedly got into a heated argument, with Jacques demanding the truth and Kendra sticking to her story. Kirk's history speaks louder than words, so you can't keep claiming innocence for very long before people start treating you like the wolf that screamed out. However, in this case, the wolf wasn't just coming, it had already consumed the entire trip. Kirk used the classic PR tactic of damage management, telling anyone who would listen that Jacques was exaggerating and that rumors were just rumors. Finding evidence from previous months, such as unposed pictures, outdated remarks, and suspicious